U.S. President Joe Biden nearly missed giving the gun-hating media collective hard-ons this week by announcing 6 new executive orders meant to curb gun violence in the U.S. Unfortunately, his sycophant media weren't quite happy and said his actions were too mild and didn't go far enough. And they, of course, failed to report on the many lies and exaggerations that he used in his narrative. On the other side of the aisle, Republicans are calling his actions unconstitutional and infringements on Second Amendment rights. But while I agree that they are severe infringements on people's rights, they miss the point about how little difference any of these actions will actually have on saving lives. Or again, the only real result is more red tape and infringements on legal gun owners who will once again find themselves on the wrong side of the law or dead. Welcome back to Renegade News. If you haven't already, smash that subscribe and notification button, and let's get right into it. Thursday's announcement of new executive actions focused significant energy on what has become known as ghost guns. Fox News says ghost guns are kits that allow the recipient to assemble the firearm using provided parts. These guns do not have commercial serial numbers and are difficult to track. Biden's action didn't actually specify what to do about the ghost guns, but he gave the Department of Justice 30 days to propose new rules to stop their spread. In reality, the amount of time and energy that Biden spent talking about ghost guns is really a bit of a joke, especially given that statistically there seems to be almost 0 murders using ghost guns. Also, that thanks to 3D printing, there's no way to stop them completely, and even if we could, most of the people who are out there using ghost guns would get their guns in other ways anyway. So any rules the Department of Justice comes up with will accomplish little, if anything, at all. Biden also railed on about pistol stabilizing braces, which make handguns more accurate, giving the DOJ 60 days to make up new rules about them. Then, keeping with the theme of scary-looking guns, he pushed Congress to ban assault weapons, touting the success of his last assault weapons ban. Scary-looking weapons are a favorite talking point of the media, who can't get enough bitching about the so-called weapons of war like AR-15s and handguns that can turn into rifles. But like so much of the left's rhetoric, most of the narrative is completely untrue, and the rest is an absolute waste of time. The Department of Justice National Institute of Justice report showed Biden's federal assault weapons ban had hardly any effect on crime. And that was in a best-case scenario. Pennsylvania professor Christopher Copper, the author of the NIG report, said, "We cannot clearly credit the ban with any of the nation's recent drop in gun violence." And indeed, there have been no discernible reduction in the lethality and injuriousness of gun violence. That's really not surprising though, because AR-15s and other assault weapons are so rarely used in homicides. In 2019, the last year that statistics were available for, rifles were only used in 2.6% of all homicides in the US. That's a paltry 364 cases out of 13,863 murders. And the media's favorite target, the AR-15, makes up a tiny percentage of even those. When you consider that there are over 10 million AR-15s in circulation in the US, basic math proves that they aren't the problem. Pistols using stabilizing braces were used so rarely we can't even get a real accurate estimate on homicide counts. And since according to unofficial government estimates there are 10 to 40 million pistols equipped with those stabilizing braces in the country, clearly, they aren't a big enough problem for any new rules to even make a dent in the goal of reducing homicides either. If Biden really cared about saving lives, he'd ban the knives that killed 1,476 people, or clubs and hammers that killed 397. Or he could amputate all of our hands and feet because they were used to murder 600 people in 2019. Then, of course, no press conference about common sense gun control would be complete without the requisite lies about background checks at gun shows.
Most people don't know it. You walk into a store and you buy a gun, you have a background check. But you go to a gun show, you can buy whatever you want and no background check.
The problem is the so-called gun show loophole doesn't actually exist, and his speechwriters know it. As the Federal Reserve reported way back in 2015, there is no loophole in federal law that specifically exempts gun show transactions from any other laws normally applied to gun sales. Not one. Federal firearm licensees have the same requirements regardless of where they sell the weapons. This could be in their store, at the gun show, or even in the back alley at the back of the local 7-Eleven. They need to confirm that the buyer is legally allowed to buy that gun, period. According to the Federalist, that means the FFL must either run a background check on you via the federal NICS database or confirm that you have passed a background check by examining your state-issued concealed carry permit or your government-issued purchase permit. Biden's speech also included nominated gun activist and Waco mass murderer participant David Chipman to head up the AFT.
I'm proud to nominate David Chipman to serve as the director of the AFT.
Or should I say the ATF, and expanding draconian red flag laws. Biden also lied when he said that
only industry in America, $1 billion industry, that can't be sued, has exempt from being sued, are gun manufacturers.
That is total hogwash. Gun manufacturers can't be sued if the weapons they manufactured were used in a crime, as they shouldn't be. They can still be sued for any other reason, the same as anybody else. Early in his speech, Joe Biden made a point of saying that there is nothing that violates the Second Amendment about any of his new executive actions.
Nothing I'm about to recommend in any way impinges on the Second Amendment. They're phony arguments.
But he protected himself in that statement by also saying that the amendments weren't absolute anyway.
But no amendment to the Constitution is absolute.
But even if he is correct, his actions do more harm than good. Red flag laws have already resulted in constitutional rights being taken away from countless Americans without trial, and have even resulted in the death of several innocent people. Balanced against the negligible, if any, lives saved by his new executive actions, is it really worth making millions of Americans felons overnight by putting these new laws into practice? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you click the link in the description and subscribe right now so that every week you'll get the inside scoop on the latest infringements and wins in your fight for more freedom and liberty. If you enjoyed this edition of Renegade News, please hit the like or the share button. We would really appreciate it.